Hi. Hello. Hi. I hope you can see me. I can't see any myself. Ah, try without the webcam. So the webcam doesn't seem to be working. So that's always a good experiment. Let me just bring that forward a little bit. Let's check that you can see the mat. I'm not quite sure why the webcam doesn't automatically link in like it does on Zoom, but there we go. You're going to miss my hands a little bit, I think. So we'll try not to do too much with hands up in the air. But I think you can see the rest of me. I'm going to try just moving that away just a tad. Yeah, still not quite there. But we'll do the best we can. Let me move the light a little closer in. So hopefully we can be a little bit brighter. Bring that more directly onto me. Yeah, I think we might be there. I think that's the best we're going to get this morning. So just holding on for a moment, just to give you all time to join and hoping that the link works. Hoping that you can all hear me. Okay, so it is 9:30. So I am going to start our practice this morning. And as we were doing class, let's start in the usual way of sitting down. So first of all, thank all of you for bearing with me that we are experimenting with live stream on YouTube, and it's the first time I taught in this way. I've used other platforms before, so just bear with kind of some of the technical hiccups that might occur. I'm hoping that we get sound recording on this. I hope you can hear me. We are going to start our practice thinking about January. I'm just clicking to my emails just in case anybody is struggling to get on and they message me. So I'm going to run the practice pretty much as I would do if we were meeting in person in London. Unfortunately, the weather is against us this morning, but that shouldn't stop us thinking about our January reset. I think often this is the time of year where we think about intentions, we think about setting resolutions, and we feel like we have to be somehow superhuman to do those things. But I don't know about you, but for me, I don't really feel like the sort of food I need to eat to lose weight. I don't feel like salads. I kind of feel like cozying up with a hot chocolate and a digestive biscuit. And perhaps running when it's snowing or taking outdoor fitness can sometimes feel hard when the weather is cold and wet. If we look around, nature is not particularly thrusting forward new growth either. But what nature is doing the internal work. So the bulbs and the plants are creating the strength they need for spring growth. And most of us know intuitively that most animal babies, most eggs hatch in the spring. So there's many an animal, including Pretty My Pony, getting ready and preparing for motherhood when the world is a little more yielding. So I feel like it's good for us to do the same, really, to think about our internal well-being and our resilience. And today's practice is all about that. Physically, we're going to be thinking about nurturing our backs and our spine, and we're going to be with that theme all month. So inviting you to find your comfortable place on the mat. And maybe you choose to find a soft focal point in front of you, soften your eyes, or maybe you choose to close your eyes completely. And really find your internal self. Perhaps you become aware of the crown of your head, your brow, your cheeks, allowing those parts of you and your jaw to soften, your tongue to rest gently in your mouth, your shoulders to settle down your back, sit bones to the earth. And feeling into the ground space wherever it meets your body. Perhaps you choose to follow your breath inwards, noticing a slight coolness in the air as it enters your nose, and how it's warmed in your nasal passages before following it down your throat, to your lungs, and notice where it lands in your body. Maybe you find it in your shoulders, your rib cage, your belly, maybe somewhere else. Perhaps at this moment you have no sensation of your breath landing at all, and know that anything you experience right now is exactly as it should be. Simply observe, allowing the breath to settle. And then in your own time, dropping your chin to your chest. Perhaps feeling a little contraction in the front of your throat, a little extension, a little opening in the vertebrae, the bones at the back of your neck. Perhaps you experience a stretch in the skin across your shoulders, your upper back. And maybe you gently start to roll your head so that your left ear comes over your left shoulder. And then coming round to the front so that your right ear comes over your right shoulder. And then gently moving between those two places. Your own pace, your own speed. And the next time your chin comes back to the center of your chest, maybe gently bat open your eyes and lift your chin so that your chin becomes parallel with the floor. And this time we'll take a gentle turn over our left shoulder. And then coming back to center over our right shoulder. And again, moving slowly and fluidly, your own pace, gently waking up the top part of your spine. No need to force, finding a softness in movement. And then next time you've evened up, pause in the moment to experience, to notice that sensation. And then taking a deep breath in through the nose and sighing away through the mouth. And two more like that. And allowing your hands to slide to the mat. Let's take a deep breath in and this time float our hands up towards the sky. And and then back down towards the earth. 2 more times, reaching up towards the sky, and then down back towards the earth. Last time, up towards the sky, and then back towards the earth. This time floating your right arm up. And imagine you're reaching up as if you're being pulled up by an invisible thread, and at the same time grounding through your left hand. So feeling a bit of a diagonal stretch through your body. And perhaps that stretch becomes intense enough to take you up and over so that you find a side bend. And noticing how it is here. And then reaching all the way back up, let's take our hands out to shoulder height. And notice that our palms are facing towards the ground. Let's take our thumbs and turn them underneath so that we kind of roll our shoulders and make a cat shape. And then opening back out, so rolling our hands the other way so that we're opening through our chest. We're taking a sort of mini cat-cow through the top of our backs. And again, just moving at your own speed, your own pace. And then next time you come back to neutral, let's place our left hand on the ground and reach up with our right. In fact, the opposite way, so we're going to come into our stretch on the opposite side. I'm a little confused because the camera isn't mirroring me, it's turning me round. And then feeling that stretch upwards, that push to the ground, that diagonal stretch through your body. And so the intensity of that stretch takes you all the way over into a side stretch. And then this time, let's take a little flow through the front so that we're circling around to find that side stretch on the opposite side. And then continuing to move in that fluid way, knowing that this soft and gentle movement lubricates and hydrates all the joints in our body, the joints in our back. And then next time you've evened out, let's bring our hands back to the side. And this time bring our right hand to our left knee, our left hand behind us, and find a gentle twist. So think about moving from your rib cage and just gently glancing towards your shoulder. So no cranking, no forcing. This is a gentle practice. We're going to deepen this practice over the month. So let's allow ourselves to start in a restful and intentional kind of way. And then bringing your arm up and over, let's place your left hand on your right knee and then round through the spine, maybe dropping your chin to your chest and taking a few quiet breaths here. And then bringing your left arm round behind you and taking your twist to the opposite side. And in your own time, floating your right arm back to your knee, and we'll take that rounded spine, this time with the opposite arm on top. And then Gently unraveling and taking your arms behind you. Let's bring our feet about hip distance or mat distance apart, maybe slightly wider than hips. And drop our knees over towards the left, over our right shoulder. And then back in the opposite direction, taking our knees to the right, looking over our left shoulder. And back to center, and just ignore me turning around. It's so that you can still see the whole of me. Let's find our Dandasana shape. So this is one of the classic yoga shapes, and it's one of the easiest because it's just sitting, isn't it? But also, I think it's one of the more challenging yoga shapes, particularly if you sit here a while. Because if you think about it, as adults, we very rarely sit with our legs on the floor, with our legs out straight in front of us, and without propping our backs against something. And so this simple shape can really start to activate the muscles around our lower back and our core. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm already starting to feel a bit of something in my lower back. Because I'm like everyone else. If I'm on the floor, I tend to bend my knees, maybe come round and round my back a little bit. So really focusing on, let's have a little rock between one bum cheek and the other, so that we find our good central place, not resting more on one side than the other. And really think as if an invisible thread is drawing your spine towards the ceiling. And then when you're ready and you found those beautiful neutral curves in your back, we're going to take a gentle forward fold. So noticing your hip bones, noticing that about 2/3 of a forward fold comes from our hips. Let's keep our backs nice and straight and move from our hips. And maybe you're noticing that I'm not going too far forward when I do that, and that's absolutely fine, because the action is all in my hips, and I've kind of got to the point where my hip bones are saying enough is enough. And if they're not, then my lower back is. So given that we are easing back into practice after the Christmas break, let's just hang here for a few breaths. Your hands can be on your legs, comfortably on the floor, whatever feels right to you. And keeping your chin slightly tucked so your neck is long. And then if it feels nice, you can maybe ease your hands a little bit further forwards. Notice how you experience that in your back body. Maybe you choose to tighten those tummy muscles a bit, squeeze those quadriceps, those muscles at the top of your thigh, make it all a little bit more active and see if that creates a little more space. And then maybe you choose to soften your elbows out towards the side, round through your upper back, drop your chin to your chest. And find a little more fold in the top part of your back. We'll stay here for a few breaths, easing into the shape. If it feels nice, take a few little wriggling movements side to side. Do that. And then in your own time, easing out of the shape. Have a moment to notice if it feels nice to take any gentle movements in your back, rolling your shoulders maybe one at a time, backwards, maybe coming forwards, whatever feels good, loosening your back. Maybe placing your hands behind you, taking a gentle back bend, opening through the front body. And we're going to come forwards and find our tabletop position. So thinking about knees under hips, and you can place your wrists under your shoulders. Know that works into the long bones and is good for bone density. Or if you want a little more compassion in your wrists, walking your hands a little bit further forward. Keeping those fingers slightly spread and pressing the weight evenly into your hands, so into each of the pads of the fingers, the knuckles of the fingers, and not all into the wrist. And again, finding that beautiful, beautiful neutral curve in your spine, tucking your chin. And then in our own time and moving from our hips, let's imagine a wave of energy up our spine. So starting to drop our bellies, tilt our pelvis towards the sky. And maybe we gently bounce upwards, finding our cow shape. And then similarly rolling through our hips, so we start to turn our pelvis underneath, round along the length of our spine, tuck our chin to find our cat. And moving between those two shapes. So gently dropping your belly, tilting your pelvis, glancing upwards. And then taking that in the opposite direction. And continuing to move between those two shapes, again, at your own time, and taking time to experience the movement. Perhaps you start to bring in some fluidity, finding some circles or some figure of 8 movements. Perhaps you find those shapes becoming a little bigger. And remembering if you're circling or figure of 8 to give yourself the opportunity to come back in the opposite direction. And eventually finding a little stillness in the shape. Let's bring our big toes together and maybe sink our sit bones back towards our heels. Maybe our forehead heads onto the mat. And then when you're ready, lifting through your body and coming through your tabletop. We're going to lower our front bodies to the earth. And perhaps spend a moment here. Let's place our left palm down, elbow out, right palm on top. Bring our forehead to our hands, our big toes together. Just take a few breaths in crocodile. Allowing the spine time for the nourishment of its practice. And then when you're ready, drawing your hands back towards your ribcage. So perhaps imagining your elbows are like little locust legs. We're going to take a little cobra sequence. So rolling your shoulders and really pushing your pelvis, your hip bones into the floor, maybe engaging through your bum muscles, the back of your legs, your lower back, and lifting from your back body. So we're not pushing with our hands, so it's a micro movement. If you're not sure if you're pushing with your hands, take them off the mat. If you move, then you're using your hands. And then coming back down to the floor. A couple more like that. Rolling your shoulders, really squeezing into your back body, lifting. And then coming back down to the floor. Last time, rolling your shoulders, lifting through your front body. See if you can find some softness in your face. And then coming back to the floor. Let's take a full stretch. So taking your hands forwards, your legs, pointing your toes towards the back of your mat. Really taking a full stretch all the way through your body. Reaching towards the front and the back of your room. And then you have space, maybe taking your hands, your feet out so that you come into a star shape and taking a stretch, imagining those lines of energy coming diagonally across the body from your right hand to your left foot, your right foot to your left hand. And then in your own time, sliding your left hand over towards your right. Perhaps you take hold of your left wrist with your right hand and sliding your right foot over towards your left. So that if I were to look down on you from above, you would look like a crescent shape or a banana. And maybe you can rest your head onto your left shoulder. And we'll stay here a few moments, experiencing this stretch in any way that's meaningful to us. And gently sliding back to our star shape. Feeling that energy connection between the diagonal points of our body. And then this time, taking that banana shape, that present moon to the opposite side. So sliding your right hand across towards the left corner of the mat and taking hold of your right wrist, sliding your right leg across towards the left. And maybe resting your head on your right shoulder. In your own time, bringing those hands and feet back to center, taking another full body stretch, maybe finger walking your hands further forwards. And then sliding your hands back so they come approximately to your rib cage, rolling your shoulders to push yourself back into tabletop. And then tucking your toes, we're going to find our downward dog. So taking that moment to set up in your hands, making sure your weight spread evenly through your fingertips, the knuckles of your hands, your wrists. And then rolling sit bones back over heels and pushing up into our dog. So notice that downward dog is not about heels on the ground. That's nice if you can, but not as part of the shape. Downward dog is about keeping the neutral curve, the length in your spine. You'll notice I'm really pushing away from my hands. I'm letting my head drop. Maybe you nod your head, shake your head, release your neck. Maybe you take little pebbles, one heel down, and then the other, sort of stretching out our hamstrings. Reminding them again that they've got a little bit of work to do. And then in your own time, let's take a gentle walk towards the front of the mat and find our forward fold. So keep a generous bend in your knees to start with, maybe heel toe your feet a little wider if they're coming a bit narrow like me. You can choose, you can rest your hands on your thighs, your calves, maybe they slide to the ground. And again, find a little softness in your back, in your neck, maybe nodding, shaking your head. Perhaps you choose to paddle out your legs here. And perhaps you choose a little straightness. You're just working where you feel nice, maybe rocking from side to side. And then in your own time, uncurling, unraveling your spine, rooting through your feet and imagining the energy of the earth is rising and growing through you. Bringing your shoulders up last. Perhaps we take some generous shoulder rolls here. I don't know, I feel like I've been sitting a lot over Christmas, so my shoulders are quite tight. And I'm going to turn around to face you, but that's just because it makes sense to do that. We're going to work into our sun salutations this month, and we're going to really be focusing on our heart sun salutations. So I want us to start by really finding our strong stand. We do this in class a lot, but just a reminder to find the earth with your feet. Imagine that your feet can see knowingly into the earth. So I'm just going to step back a little bit so that I keep as much as possible onto camera. And I want you to imagine that you're experiencing the earth through the base of your big toe, the base of your little toe, and the heel of your feet. Perhaps we take a little rock forwards and backwards. So we're sort of starting to explore the edges of our feet. I think this is one of the really nice things to do because we all have habitual ways of standing, of placing our weight. And this forces us to kind of reconsider that. And then we'll take a little rock from side to side. Whoa, wobbling if that feels good. That's the body learning. I haven't done this for a while. And then maybe turning that all into some little circles. So you're really rolling around the side edges of your feet. And then when you've had enough, or you feel that you found your center, really grounding into your center. I find if I soften my knees a little bit, I feel like I'm kind of putting my weight through to the earth. Perhaps you notice that your hip bones come a little forward. You find the neutral curves in your back. Your chin is parallel with the ground. And your hands hang as they hang. For some of us, they're more towards the body. If you're like me, I have a little bit of external rotation and my hands come to the front. You're just finding your neutral stand. And let's breathe in and float our hands towards the sky. They might have been lost a little bit off camera, but just imagine that they're there. We're keeping our elbows lightly bent, our chest open, and then as we breathe out, coming back down. Let's take two more like that. Breathing in, opening the chest, breathing out. Last time, breathing in, breathing out. Let's take one more reach up. And this time, let's take hold of our left wrist with our right hand and reach all the way up and over as if we're making that banana shape. And then if it feels good and you want to add a little more intensity, you can bring your left leg in front of your right and find that crescent shape, just as we did on the ground, only this time our bodies are playing with gravity as well. Let's unravel and come back to center and swap wrists, reaching up and over. And then bringing our right legs in front. So again, we're finding that crescent moon, that banana. And then up and back to center. Rolling your shoulders if that feels nice, which it does to me. And then let's move into those sun salutations. So we're going to take Ardha Surya Namaskar, half sun salutations this morning. So I'm going to come back as far as I can, so hopefully as much of me as possible stays in camera. We'll take a deep breath in, float those hands up. And then just as we did in our Dandasana, coming forward from our hips until we find our forward fold. Take a deep breath in here and a long breath out. As we inhale next time, let's slide our hands up so that we come halfway up. The emphasis on keeping a neutral spine. So I'll turn around to show you. And we're keeping our chin slightly tucked so we keep length in our necks. We're going to fold forward again. So your forward fold goes just as far as feels comfortable to you. And then this time we'll roll up one vertebrae at a time, again, as we did coming up before from our downward dog. But this time taking our hands up and overhead, palms together for heart center. Pause a moment, deep breath in, long breath out. We'll take two more like that. So imagine as we're doing this, we're going to go a little bit faster. I'd like you to really imagine that movement, particularly that unfurling, is gently lubricating the whole of your spine. So keeping your attention on your spine as you move. So breathing in to float your hands up, softening through the knees, bending from the hips till you find your forward fold. We'll take a breath here. And then slide up halfway, keeping your chin tucked towards the ground. Slide back down. Take a breath. And then unfurling at your own speed, one vertebrae at a time. Rolling the shoulders back into place. Floating the arms up and overhead, hands together, heart center. Deep breath in, long breath out, ready to go again. Inhaling to take your hands up. Exhaling, folding forward from the hips to find your forward fold. Rising up halfway, neutral spine. Sliding down to forward fold. And then rolling up through your back. Hands together. And coming down to heart center. Taking a deep breath in and a long breath out. Lovely. Okay. So as we work through this month, we're going to add into that half sun salutation. We'll add in breath. We'll add in a little more speed. But we'll see how we go. We're going to come into a short standing sequence now before we come back to a little bit more stillness and intensity. So let's start at the front edge of our mat. And let's start by floating our hands up towards the sky and then bringing them to heart center. Find your weight onto your left leg, step back with your right leg. So we're finding a nice stride, leg backwards. Square your hips to the front of the mat. Bend your front knee and allow that to lift your back heel. And I want you to really think about keeping that back leg strong and active. You can heel toe your front foot out to make your base a little wider if that helps. And then we're going to inhale and float our hands up towards the sky. Take a breath in, a breath out. Next time we breathe in, let's bring our right arm forward. We're falling over. A left arm back. Thank goodness the wall was there. And really find that sense of stretch. Imagining the energies flowing from our left fingertips to our right fingertips. Bringing our left arm under. Let's come back into our high lunge shape. And this time, bringing our right arm back and allowing that to pivot us to warrior two. I'm going to just heel toe my front foot in so it's a little more central. And make sure I've got my weight going through both feet evenly. So the temptation in warriors is to come into the front leg, but you can see that makes me a little wobbly. So really thinking about grounding through the blades of the back foot. Let's take a breath in, a breath out. And maybe a few of those little cat-cow movements. So rotating your fingers, maybe you can do your arms, one palm up, one palm down, finding a little kind of snaky, I always think it's a bit like an Egyptian dancer kind of movement. Kind of like inner, is it the bangles, walk like an Egyptian going on in my mind. And then finding a little stillness. Let's reach all the way forward, moving from our rib cage. And then allow that energy to take us up and back. So our left arm comes towards the sky, our right arm drops down our back leg. We'll take a few breaths here. And then when you're ready, floating back to your warrior two. And this time taking your left forearm to your left thigh and maybe reaching up with your right arm. So we're avoiding dropping into that left arm and keeping everything lifted. If it feels nice, you can bring that right arm all the way up and over. So imagining you're back in that banana shape. Feeling the energy from your right foot all the way through to your right hand. And then gently lifting back to that warrior two. Bring your hands together at heart center. Maybe straightening your front leg and bringing that front foot in, that back foot heel in, so both feet are parallel with the short edges of your mat or with each other. And then softening through the knees. Maybe we bring our hands to our hips and start to fold forward gently. So we come into a wide leg forward fold. Again, take a point of rest wherever feels good to you. So if that's on your thighs, be here. If you want to be a little deeper in the fold, you can slide your hands down your calves, your feet, or the earth. Allow your neck to soften. And an invitation then to bring your hands back to your hips and start to rise up slowly. So powering up through strength in your feet, in your legs, so that you come back to center. Maybe pause for a breath if that feels nice. And then we're going to take our right foot and turn the toes towards what was the back edge of the mat. And we're going to find our warrior two on this side. So let's float arms to shoulder height. Let's check in that our weight is evenly distributed between both feet. And again, maybe let's take the front palm up and take some of those little funky movements. My brain isn't working with my arms today to tell them what to do. Really think about that. There. Lovely. And then taking your hands out to the front, taking that lean forward, up and all the way back into Peaceful Warrior. And a few breaths here. And floating back through Warrior Two, this time finding our right forearm on our knee and our left arm reaching up towards the sky. Really finding lift. So if you're not sure whether you're dropped onto your arm or not, deliberately drop and then lift back up. And if it feels nice, you can take your arm all the way over and find that banana shape again. Floating back. This time we're going to do a bit of a funky transition. So bringing your left arm through and spin on your back foot. So we're going to find our high lunge on the other side. Just take a moment to settle here. If you need to heel toe that right foot out a little bit to widen your stance, do that. And then taking your left arm forward, your right arm back. Whoa, I'm wobbling if you're me, again. Just take a moment into your twist on this side. And then bringing that right arm underneath so we come back to our high lunge. Let's bring our hands to heart center and step forwards. This time we'll be at the bottom edge of our mat. Just pedal out, taking the movement you need. Maybe step back to the center of your mat. Find your Tadasana, so a nice strong stand. Take a breath here. And allow that all to settle. We're going to find our way back to seated. So you can come to seated however you like, or you can come with me. So I'm going to take a deep breath in, bring my hands up, come forward from my hips as we've done through practice. Find my hands on the ground, this time with a generous bend in my knees. Step back into dog, perhaps a little walk out here. And then dropping my knees to the earth, swinging my feet to the side and rolling back to come onto my feet. So let's just take a moment, give ourselves a little reward. So wrapping your arms around your knees, dropping your chin to your chest, giving yourself a big hug, a seated abhyasa. And unraveling from that, let's take our feet hip distance apart. If it feels nice, you can roll down, but coming onto our backs in any way that feels nice to us. Okay. So let's keep our feet around about hip distance apart, our knees pointing towards the ceiling, and we'll take a gentle bridge pose, bringing our hands to the floor. And really thinking about our hips, our lower back. And I want you to start by imagining that you're pushing your lower back into the floor. So there's a little tilt in your pelvis as you do that. And then you can lift your lower back off the floor. So they're not big movements. They're moving between the two. Dropping your back, lifting your back, dropping, lifting your lower back. Next time you drop your lower back into the floor, imagine that you're pushing your feet away from your hips and allow that movement to lift your hips. So you're rolling up through your spine, one vertebrae at a time. And then rolling back down. Almost as if you're giving your spine a bit of a massage. Let's do that 2 more times. Rolling up, 1 vertebra at a time. And rolling back down. In your own time, last time. Maybe when you get to the top this time, let's stay here for 3 breaths. And then rolling back to the earth. Bringing the knees into your chest, a little rock from side to side, a little counter stretch. And then coming onto our sides, we're going to come back to seated. Because I'd like us to take a little pranayama, a little breath practice. One of my favourite breaths. And this breath is called butterfly breath. I think, given the weather, I'm calling it snowflake breath, this deep breath. There you go. So what we're going to do, I'm just going to come towards the camera and I'm going to show you the shape. So we're bringing our hands into that classic butterfly shape. So thumbs together, and then we have 2 wings. And then what we're going to do is, as we breathe in, we lift the fingers of one hand. And as we breathe out, we place them back down. Next breath in, fingers of the other hand, place them back down. So I'm going to come back to the mat. Just find a moment to be in a comfortable seat. Let's just arrive back in sitting. We can leave our hands on our heart space. It feels, to me at least, quite soothing, quite comfortable. Breathing quietly. Maybe you soften the gaze, close down your eyes. Maybe you start to follow your breath inside your body. Noticing where it lands. Noticing how soft, how subtle it is. And then maybe as you breathe in, you start to lift the fingers of one hand. And as you breathe out, you bring them back to your chest. Breathing in, lifting the fingers of the opposite hand. Breathing out, back to chest. Breathing in, breathing out. Breathing in, breathing out. Breathing in, breathing out. Breathing in, breathing out. Carrying on in that way for a few moments. compacts after your next exhale, releasing the mudra, allowing your hands to settle softly in your lap. That's keeping your focus on your breath. And then releasing your breath back to its normal, natural rhythm. And then, however you get there, arriving softly on your back one more time as we head towards Shavasana. Maybe you choose to take your arms to shoulder height, your knees towards the left, looking over your right shoulder, taking a gentle twist. Bringing your knees through center, taking that to the opposite side. And coming back to center, taking any other movement you feel would be nice before you settle to your Shavasana. So maybe hugging your knees into your chest and rocking a little from side to side. Maybe a full body stretch. Reaching your fingers and your toes to opposite ends of the mat. And either settling into your Shavasana with your legs straight on the mat, arms by your side, or maybe bringing the soles of your feet to the earth, dropping your knees inward. And settling to your Shavasana. Knowing that this is the most important shape of our practice, allowing the nutrients, our practice to circulate in our bodies and our minds to integrate the new information. We'll have 2 minutes of Shavasana silence. I'm allowing my voice to re-enter your conscious mind, calling back your soul, your spirit, mind and emotions, breath. Reconnect with your physical body at heart center. Perhaps becoming aware of the regular rise and fall of your chest and your heart space. Perhaps sensing into how you feel now as we close our practice. And allowing some of that energy to reach your fingers and toes, introducing some gentle movement, perhaps circling ankles and wrists, perhaps rolling your head gently from side to side. And becoming aware of the space around you. Perhaps you start to move into that space, reaching your arms overhead or drawing your knees into your chest, giving yourself a hug. And then when you're ready, rolling onto your side and finding your way to your comfortable seat, hands at heart center. Maybe you keep your gaze soft, eyes lowered. Maybe you keep your eyes closed. And then rubbing your palms together, placing your left palm on your heart center, your right palm on top. And closing our practice with a little gratitude. Perhaps for the practice itself, perhaps for something amazing that's happened or that you've seen this week, perhaps for the snow. And then bowing to one another, Hari Om Tat Sat, Om Shanti. And as we rise up, rubbing our palms together one last time, placing that energy over our eyes, perhaps spreading our fingers, batting open our eyes in our own time, and allowing our hands to release the rain from our faces and our own stillness and warmth to glow in the week ahead. Thank you. Okay, thanks everybody. I hope that worked. If not, we'll try a different way. Okay, bye-bye.